Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Taking a look at what's happening outside. Gorgeous start here in downtown Raleigh. Beautiful blue skies. Later this afternoon, increasing clouds and a small chance of showers for part of the viewing area. I'll show you where.
Is flying much needed supplies to communities that are in need right now. These are communities Helene devastated. We're going to explain how a father from Texas was able to organize these efforts.
And more truckloads of supplies are headed to the western part of our state. The Johnston County company that's teaming up with local law enforcement to deliver those urgent needs right now. Thank you so much for joining us on your Friday morning. We'll tell you all about the urgent need happening in our state and all the resources heading there. I'm Michelle McConaughey.
I'm Chris Lovingood. We're also going to tell you about a resource we have made available for you to access on WRAL.com. But first, we do want to start with your weather forecast. This Friday morning, beautiful outside, Elizabeth.
It really is gorgeous. This is the prettiest morning that we've had in quite some time. Certainly the prettiest morning all week long. RDU looking gorgeous with nothing but blue sky. And we've even seen a drop in our dew point, or a drop in the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. It's down to 62, so it feels comfortable. Our temperature heading out the door right now, mainly in the mid 60s. Now, later on this afternoon, some clouds will roll in. It's a very small chance of rain later today, just a 20% chance, and mostly for our southern counties, but we'll go over that on Futurecast coming up. Highs this afternoon in the low 80s, so it is going to be a warm afternoon, and it does stay warm through the weekend before cooler air arrives next week. Tropical outlook, this area was under a 30% chance of development from the National Hurricane Center yesterday. Now it's back up to 40%. The models had kind of let go of it developing, and now they're starting to pick back up on it a little bit, but it's not likely to come to our area. The high pressure system that's going to bring us some fall-like weather next week will also act to block that low and keep it down to the south. Now that does mean some heavy rain for parts of Florida. We will talk about how much rain that they could see and what else is happening in the tropics coming up, Ken.
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We want to update you on a handful of incidents that's popping up on our live traffic sensors this morning. Let's start with this crash that just happened on Dixie Trail near Wade Avenue. You can see really the trouble spot isn't on Dixie Trail, but it's really on Wade Avenue in both directions. I'll keep an eye on that because I know Wade Avenue connects you to a lot of the major roadways around here. You're looking right now at a 5 to 10 minute delay there on Wade Avenue, so keep that in mind if you're about to head out this morning. We're also monitoring this crash in the downtown area on McDowell and Jones Street. Not really causing any problems for you this morning. You'll get to your office on time if you're heading down that way. This crash on I-40 near Aviation Parkway in the westbound lanes, but it's the eastbound lanes that we're really seeing the real slowdown. Let's go outside and show you what we're talking about here. This is I-40 and Aviation Parkway. You can't see the crash on this traffic camera, but you can see traffic is still moving along at a steady clip. We'll keep monitoring that for you here in the WRAL Traffic Center. The other real trouble spot for us this morning really is that US 1 corridor coming in from Wake Forest this morning, all points east, coming down to the capital city. You're looking right now in terms of delays coming in from Wake Forest. You're looking at really an 8-minute delay coming in from Wake Forest this morning. So just keep that in mind if you're about to head out. And of course, you're heading out this morning, you can take us with you. WRAL News Plus, 101.5 HD3. You can listen to us throughout the Triangle.
A week ago today, heavy flooding from Helene overwhelmed communities in western North Carolina. And the number of people confirmed dead, it's rising as people work to recover. As of this morning, we know the storm is responsible for at least 215 deaths across the South. Yesterday afternoon, we learned 105 of those deaths were in North Carolina, including 72 in Buncombe County. We checked power outages within the last couple of minutes, and there are roughly around 230,000 people in North Carolina without power. That means since the peak of outages last Friday, power has been restored to more than 700,000 people.
And today, several truckloads of supplies will leave Johnston County headed for western North Carolina. The Johnston County Sheriff's Office has teamed up with a trucking company in Selma to deliver that urgent relief. WRAL's Heidi Kirk shares drivers have been hitting the roads all week to help people in the mountains.
We've heard stories from western North Carolina that some people haven't had access to things like food and water in days. And so here at the Johnston County Sheriff's Office, you can see they have donation bins for things like dry food, cleaning products, diapers and wipes, all essential supplies for people out in some of those areas hardest hit by Helene. And after people are making donations, these supplies are getting loaded into airflow trucks, taken out to a facility where they're getting packaged and then shipped out to Western North Carolina. In fact, just this morning, we were able to see the first 5 semi-trucks make that trek from here in Johnston County all the way out to Western North Carolina, and they've taken several other loads throughout this week. Now, if you want to get involved, you can make a donation, and you can do that by bringing any of these supplies to the Johnston County Sheriff's Office anytime today between 8:30 and 5 p.m. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News in Johnston County.
In fact, a group of volunteers is using private helicopters to deliver supplies to communities that are hard to reach in Western North Carolina. They have already delivered nearly 500,000 pounds of supplies. Let's go ahead and bring in Monica Casey. She is live in Swannanoa this morning. This is just south of Asheville. Monica, all of this, every bit of it, started because of one father.
That's right. And Swannanoa is one of the hardest hit areas. You can see just here behind me, the end of the parking lot over there just dips off into nothing. This building over here on the side has things just crumbling out of it. And then the back of the parking lot just empties over there into the river. With all this devastation, though, the number of people helping each other has been incredible to see. Adam Smith organized what he calls the Savage Operations Center, which has amassed hundreds of volunteers at this point. This all started because he couldn't get in touch with his daughter and her mother. He drove 18 hours from Texas to find them, ultimately getting on a private helicopter to be reunited with them. Since then, he's organized this entire relief effort here. Smith says the outpouring of support has been incredible, but he wants to emphasize there will be more to do long term.
There's homes that are washed out. There's a lot of people that lost their lives. There's a lot of people that are left with nothing. There's a lot of displaced people. And the big challenge now moving forward is not so much the rescue, it's how do we find a place for the displaced families.
We continue to see incredible need all over Western North Carolina. At a food distribution in Asheville yesterday, 8,000 people were served. We also continue to monitor power outages. At last check, Governor Roy Cooper said 90% of people could have power back by the end of this week. Live in Swannanoa, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
And we have been trying to get Sky 5 to the North Carolina mountains for the past several days, and finally weather conditions improved and we were able to make our first trip there. And now we can see from above people hard at work to restore their towns. In many areas, the water is gone, but the mud and dirt remain. Trees are still down, utility poles snapped, and whole buildings are washed away at the base. In Avery County, military helicopters are staged at the airport. Boone is dealing with muddy roads, but we didn't see major problems on the App State campus. And at Grandfather Mountain, the mile-high bridge is still swinging. Among all of the destruction, we were able to see a good remainder of North Carolina's beauty as the leaves start to change around this waterfall.
Now, I want to show you this video of flooding. It was taken in Asheville from a third-floor apartment. Chris Faber recorded this from his apartment in Biltmore Village. With all exit doors underwater, all he could do was watch this, the water rise beneath him. He described what he saw as he was stuck waiting and watching.
First, there was a lot of kegs, a lot of like propane tanks and things, and then it was shipping containers and vehicles, and then it was whole buildings.
This floodwater came up nearly 30 feet in some areas. Now, I want to give you perspective. That is roughly the depth of Lake Johnson in Raleigh. Faber can no longer live in the building because of all the flooding, and this is why he's now living in his workspace in downtown Asheville.
The damage is just amazing. Do fans have a chance to meet this year's basketball teams ahead of the season and donate to Western North Carolina? The university is partnering with 2 men and a truck for this year's Countdown to Craziness. The moving company will have a Stuff the Truck event during its Fan Fest in Kayville to collect items to donate to survivors of Helene. The men's and women's basketball teams will appear at 5:30. It all starts at 3 p.m. today in Kayville, with the fun continuing with the annual blue-white scrimmage at Cameron Indoor Stadium at 6.
Today, Vice President Kamala Harris travels to the battleground state of Michigan, and former President Donald Trump will head back to Georgia. Alice Barr has a look at the final sprint to the White House.
Former President Trump heads to Georgia today to again survey devastation from Hurricane Helene, as Vice President Harris travels to Michigan after rallying in Wisconsin alongside former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
I have never voted for a Democrat, But this year, I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Cheney voted to impeach former President Trump over his role in the January 6th Capitol attack. Vice President Harris appealing to other Republicans to back her, arguing the former president cannot be trusted.
He who violated the oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And make no mistake, he who, if given the chance, would violate it again.
That after a new special counsel court filing asserts former President Trump should not be immune from prosecution for his efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss. The former president calls the filing political.
This was a weaponization of government.
Rallying in Michigan last night, he doubled down on false claims of a stolen election.
It was a rigged election. You have to tell Kamala Harris that's why I'm doing it again. If I thought I lost, I wouldn't be doing this again.
Voters divided.
I think Trump has destroyed the Republican Party.
Do you think that Liz Cheney speaks for the Republican Party?
No. Absolutely not.
Americans weighing the impact of the last election as they prepare to vote in the next.
That was Alice Barr reporting. The Israeli military is warning people to evacuate communities in southern Lebanon. That's outside the UN-declared buffer zone. This signals Israel might expand its ground operation launched against Hezbollah. Overnight, Israeli strikes also hit the Lebanese capital of Beirut. Israeli authorities say the army struck around 200 Hezbollah targets in the country. This includes weapons storage facilities and observation posts. At least 37 people were killed in Lebanon yesterday, according to that country's leadership. Time is 8:11, and new this morning, because employees accused their company of not letting them leave before Helene flooding hit and people died, a CEO is sharing his side of the story.
And a new event put some of the top female athletes to the test with a crown on the line for the best of the best. Details on the all-new Athlos event, which just ran for the first time in New York City.
And it's a beautiful start out there this morning with lots of sunshine. Increasing clouds this afternoon and a small chance of showers in parts of the viewing area later on this evening. I'll show you coming up on Futurecast.
Welcome back on your Friday morning. This is a nice sunny look at Wake Forest this morning as you are waking up, smelling the coffee, getting your Friday started. We are ready for the weekend. A really nice start to our Friday as well. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner has a look around town, much different this morning than yesterday morning.
What a great way to wake up. I think this is the prettiest morning that we've seen all week, maybe in the last 7 or 8 days. We have beautiful sunshine in Fayetteville. Notice just a few high, thin clouds. We'll see that thickening up and increasing as we get through the afternoon and evening. But enjoy the sunshine this morning while we have it. Beautiful blue skies in Apex, Chapel Hill, and in Raleigh right now. Chapel Hill, courtesy of Top of the Hill restaurant. We do have some moisture that's down to the south coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. This is not related to the tropical system that could develop in another 4 or 5 days, but this is going to feed some moisture into the mountains for some light showers. I'm talking about less than 1/10 of an inch. I know a lot of folks will be worried about the mountains seeing any more rain, and that is definitely a valid worry, but it looks like it would be very light. And then after that, pretty dry for the next 7 days or so. We could also see just a quick little shower that would roll through mainly in our southern counties later on today. Notice by lunchtime, it clouds up, but it's mostly going to be high, thin clouds. It gets a little thicker during the evening commute. And then, this is a brand new run of the computer models, which has really pushed a lot of that moisture down to the south. We're going to keep a 20% chance in there and another 20% chance for Saturday night as another front comes through. But the big deal front comes in on Monday. It looks fairly moisture starved, but it will have plenty of dry and cool air to share with us. Look at that Tuesday, our high of 73. We'll see that on Wednesday, and highs stay in the 70s into the weekend. This is going to be a really nice taste of fall. For the last several weeks, we've been dealing with much warmer than normal temperatures and some sticky conditions. That all changes starting on Tuesday. It'll be time to put the pumpkins out. Some people have. I noticed that in my neighborhood. I still haven't gotten around to it. Several things we're watching. Major Hurricane Kirk here, and then, of course, we have Tropical Storm Leslie, and then watching to see if we're going to have any development here. It's back up to 40% today compared to 30% yesterday. Watch what happens here. The probability of a tropical depression does go up to around 70 or 80% around the early part of next week. And then the path of that takes it across Florida and into the Atlantic and away from North Carolina. It does not look like we will end up seeing any rain from that. The high pressure system that will deliver our nice cool air will act to block any of that moisture down to the south. So it's likely to move across Florida. They could see 5 to 8 inches of rain with that around the middle of next week. Now, our coastline could see some big swells, some rip current danger over the weekend with big Hurricane Kirk here, Category 4. But that storm is not going to come anywhere close to land. It stays way out in the Atlantic. And of course, we also have Tropical Storm Leslie. That storm doing the same thing, just staying out here in the Atlantic. For us, our weekend looks pretty good. It'll be a little on the warm side, 85 Saturday, 82 on Sunday. And then after that, looking forward to some nice dry air, Ken.
Yeah, you've got company, Elizabeth. We haven't put out our pumpkins either, but we did put out our fall wreath. Hey, let's show you what you can expect as you're getting ready to head out. Here's something that's brewing in West Raleigh this morning. Here's a crash on Dixie Trail southbound lane near Wade Avenue. The trouble isn't on Dixie Trail, but actually on Wade Avenue in terms of those east-west routes. So if you're heading on Wade Avenue in the eastbound lane, you might want to get off on Faircloth and head over to Hillsborough. If you're heading west on Wade Avenue, you might want to get off on Oberlin and get over to Hillsborough as an alternate route, particularly if you're in a rush this morning. Elsewhere, this crash in downtown Raleigh in McDowell and Jones Street, not a problem for you this morning. You will get to your office on time. This crash on I-40 westbound at Aviation Parkway, not really in the westbound lane, but we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown in the eastbound lane this morning. Let's go ahead and take you outside and show you what I'm talking about. These are the eastbound lanes on I-40 Aviation Parkway. You see traffic has definitely picked up in those eastbound lanes. I'll keep monitoring that for you. If you're listening to us on the radio, we do appreciate that, but you can do the same. 101.5 HD3, you can listen to us throughout the Triangle.
Ken, thank you. New this morning, family and friends of 2 employees who died during the flooding of a Tennessee plastics company, they essentially had a vigil for them, a prayer to honor these people. But as that happened, we have learned that the CEO of the company that is involved with this, he's sharing something different in terms of the evacuations. See, Gerald O'Connor says that a review found employees were told, in fact, to leave 45 minutes before the flood hit the plant.
There was time to escape. Employees were not told at any time that they would be fired if they left the plant. I was one of the last people to leave the plant and luckily escape. To our knowledge, no one perished while on company property.
Again, that's the opposite of what employees are saying. They're saying they were not allowed to leave. O'Connor said the National Guard rescued 5 employees. 4 other employees are still missing, and authorities in Tennessee are investigating this response.
Prosecutors are reviewing new evidence in the case of Eric and Lyle Menendez. The brothers were convicted of shooting and killing their parents in their Beverly Hills mansion more than 35 years ago. The Los Angeles County District Attorney is working to determine whether the brothers should be serving life sentences for the murders. He says new evidence supports the brothers' claims that they were molested by their father. A resentencing hearing is set for November 29th.
Country music star Garth Brooks is facing a sexual assault lawsuit, and that lawsuit lays out 2 specific times when Brooks is accused of committing sexual assault and battery against a hair and makeup artist. One occasion was in May 2019. That was in a hotel room. The other was at Brooks's home later that same year. Brooks, though, denies the allegations.
A new event in New York City highlighted the world of women's track. It's called Athlos, and people are calling it the Coachella of sport. Some of the greatest athletes from this year's Summer Olympics were at New York's Icon Stadium, and the lineup included 36 women athletes competing for a Tiffany crown. But more importantly, it gave them a stage to showcase their talents. The entrepreneur who made this all happen, Alexis Ohanian. He's married to tennis megastar Serena Williams, and when he pitched the idea to her, she loved it.
To Serena, I was like, hey, Serena, wouldn't it be nice one day if Olympia played on the national team? And without Mr. B, Serena's like, not until they pay her what she's worth. And I said, challenge accepted.
According to a 2023 report, on average, female athletes earn 21 times less than their male counterparts. Athlos hoping to change that, every participant earning a cash prize.
Big effort they're undertaking there. It's awesome. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins put on a show on Thursday Night Football against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He threw for 509 yards in the game. That includes the game-winning 45-yard touchdown pass in overtime. Here's the thing. It's only the 25th time in NFL history a quarterback has thrown for more than 500 yards. The Falcons won 36-30, and they move into first place in the NFC South.
WRAL and Fox 50 are your destinations for NFL football in Week 5. You can watch the Panthers take on the Chicago Bears on the road. That's Sunday at 1 o'clock here on Fox 50. And then it's Sunday night football and an old-school rivalry game. The Dallas Cowboys travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Kickoff is 8:20 Sunday over on WRAL.
You get football. You get football. Everybody gets football. A newly finished section of NC 540. It's speeding up travel for drivers, but people living nearby say it's causing several new problems. We'll explain.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Friday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner said this morning is probably the prettiest morning we've had all week.
I really feel like it. Beautiful blue sky out here. And this, all the way back into last week, we haven't had just a quiet, sunny morning in over a week, I don't think. 64 in Raleigh and Durham, 64 in Fayetteville. There are a few clouds that are starting to stream in Fayetteville right now, and later this afternoon will likely cloud up, especially mid to late afternoon. And mainly in our southern counties, there's a very small chance of a shower. The newest runs of the models coming in are keeping that pretty far south, actually. Mostly sunny, looking at temperatures in the 60s heading out the door. If you're looking to run when you get back from work, temperatures likely to be in the upper 70s, and humidity not too bad out there.
Hi, Elizabeth. Happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Some really light traffic to report at this hour, which is really good news if you're about to head out this morning. We just have a little trouble spot right there on Highway 70 in both directions, going up towards the Durham area. But in terms of delays coming into the capital city, look at this. Really, the main trouble spot is US 1 coming in from Wake Forest this morning on Capitol Boulevard. You're looking at a 5-minute delay, maybe a 2-minute delay on those eastbound lanes because, I've been telling you about that crash in that westbound lanes, but we're seeing that slow down in the eastbound lane. I'll have an update at the bottom of the hour over on Fox 50.
Thanks, Ken. Today, several truckloads of supplies will leave Johnston County headed for western North Carolina. The sheriff's office partnered with Airflow Trucking to deliver the much-needed supplies raised during the agency's week-long donation drive. You can still drop off donations at the sheriff's office until 5 p.m. this afternoon. Next on Fox 50, how a Texas father is working to deliver supplies to a rural part of western North Carolina.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Beautiful start out there this morning. We take a look at downtown Raleigh. Lots of blue skies, some increasing clouds later today, and I'll show you who may see an isolated shower this evening.
We are live in Swannanoa, one of the hardest hit areas in western North Carolina by Hurricane Helene. We'll have the latest on what the situation looks like here and show you how people are helping each other.
And the port strike that could have made the recovery efforts a little more difficult, it's been suspended, at least for now. We'll explain the tentative agreement in place so port workers can get back to work. A lot of stories we're covering here at 8:30 as you watch WRAL News and Fox 50. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Chris Lovinggood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. A beautiful start to our Friday leading into the weekend. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner. It's like the perfect day to fly out of RDU.
It really is. If you have somewhere to go, it's smooth sailing for sure. Nothing but sunshine, just gorgeous blue sky out there this morning. Our dew point is a little lower than it was yesterday. Yesterday, you remember, we had the low clouds and fog. Not so today, just a few degrees lower with that dew point. It's dried us out a little bit. Our temperatures are comfortable 64, so it feels good out there. We'll likely see some increasing clouds later this afternoon, and this evening in some of our southern counties we have just a 20% chance of showers. We'll take a look at that on Futurecast coming up. Highs this afternoon will be in the low 80s, and we're going to keep it in the 80s for highs through the weekend. A little bit of a change here with our system in the Gulf that hasn't yet developed. Yesterday it was a 30% chance, back up to a 40% chance today, but it's not likely to come here, fortunately. High pressure will help to bring in some really comfortable air now next week, but it will also force any of that tropical moisture to the south. So if that low develops, it's likely to move across Florida. But it's not the only thing out there right now. We're going to talk about how Kurt could affect the coast with high rip current danger this weekend. Coming up, Ken.
All right, Elizabeth, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We continue to follow this situation in West Raleigh. We're talking about this crash on Dixie Trail. Really, the issue isn't really on Dixie Trail, but it was on Wade Avenue. But you can see it's really beginning to clear up in those east and westbound lanes there at Wade Avenue. You might see some police activity if you're navigating Wade Avenue right now. So I wouldn't really avoid Wade Avenue to begin with. This crash on McDowell and Jones Street in the downtown area, for those of you heading to your offices this morning, not a problem this morning. You'll get to your office on time. We continue monitoring this crash on I-40 in westbound on Aviation Parkway. The real issue really are those eastbound lanes. You can see traffic is moving along at a steady clip, but it's definitely picking up quite a bit this morning. If you're getting ready to head out, always know, depending on where you are, you can listen to us anywhere in the triangle at 101.5 HD3. You also have a couple of other options as well. In Raleigh, it's 99.3 FM, 96.5 FM in Durham. We'll keep you updated on your morning commute.
All right, thanks, Ken. This morning, the death toll from Helene is rising a week after the storm hit. As of this morning, we know the storm is responsible for at least 215 confirmed deaths across the South. Yesterday afternoon, we've learned that 105 of those deaths are here in North Carolina, 72 in Buncombe County alone. We've just checked the power outage web map on the website and poweroutage.us. Right now, it says that there are nearly 231,000 homes in North Carolina without power. And that means since the peak of the outages last Friday, power has been restored for more than 700,000 homes.
And today, several truckloads of supplies will leave Johnston County, heading for western North Carolina. The Johnston County Sheriff's Office has teamed up with a trucking company in Selma to deliver that urgent relief. WRAL's Heidi Kirk shares how drivers have been on the roads all week to help people in the mountains.
We've heard stories from western North Carolina that some people haven't had access to things like food and water in days. And so here at the Johnston County Sheriff's Office, you can see they have donation bins for things like dry food, cleaning products, diapers and wipes, all essential supplies for people out in some of those areas hardest hit by Helene. And after people are making donations, these supplies are getting loaded into airflow trucks, taken out to a facility where they're getting packaged and then shipped out to western North Carolina. In fact, just this morning, we were able to see the first 5 semi-trucks make that trek from here in Johnston County all the way out to western North Carolina. And they've taken several other loads throughout this week. Now, if you want to get involved, you can make a donation. And you can do that by bringing any of these supplies to the Johnston County Sheriff's Office anytime today between 8:30 and 5 p.m. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News in Johnston County.
And a group of volunteers is using private helicopters to deliver supplies to communities that are really hard to reach out in the western part of our state. They have already delivered nearly 500,000 pounds. WRAL's Monica Casey is live in Swannanoa, about 30 minutes outside of Asheville. And Monica, it's all started because of a Texas father.
That's right. He really got things going here, and it's needed in Swannanoa. You can see this is one of the hardest hit areas. Take a look at all of this debris on the side of the riverbank, pieces of signs, pieces of the buildings that were here, an entire door just lying here. And through these trees, you can see crews are getting to work over there on that portion of that road. Now, I spoke with Adam Smith. He organized what he calls the Savage Operations Center, which has amassed hundreds of volunteers at this point. That all started because he couldn't get in touch with his daughter and her mother. He drove 18 hours from Texas to find them, ultimately getting on a private helicopter to be reunited with them. Since then, he's organized all of this. Smith says the outpouring of support has been incredible to see, but he wants to emphasize there will be more to do long term.
In a week or two, it'll be gone. And the people of Swannanoa and Bat Cave and Chimney Rock are going to be here. And they're going to still be rebuilding their lives and trying to rebuild their homes and trying to figure out what's next.
We have seen some progress around this area, and we continue to monitor power outages. At last check, Governor Roy Cooper said 90% of power could be back by the end of this week. Now, we continue to see an incredible need here at a food distribution event in Asheville yesterday. 8,000 people needed meals there. Live in Buncombe County, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
The need is just so great in that region right now. And a firefighter died during a rescue operation in Buncombe County. The Garrett Creek Volunteer Fire Department announced that Battalion Chief Tony Garrison was killed in a landslide last Friday. He was with the fire department for about 17 years. The department said, quote, Garrison died doing what he loved to do, running into the danger to try and help another. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children.
It's just so heartbreaking. Well, the town of Hot Springs in Madison County is among those hardest hit by Helene. Roads were washed out, businesses destroyed, and buildings taken off of their foundations. Traffic is also delaying their ability to get resources. With I-40 and I-26 closed in Tennessee, cars are forced through the small town, and they are receiving resources, but manpower to distribute them is where they are lacking.
100, 150 able-bodied people that are here. We've been working up to sundown every day.
And we believe that. Fortunately, the town of Hot Springs does have cell signal. A temporary tower was installed there and will likely remain there for a long time.
And if you want to see where we have been so far in terms of the stories we have covered, the communities we have reached, WRAL has this interactive map online, and it shows our coverage from every community we have been so far. Just go to WRAL.com/Hurricane Helene and hover your mouse over these locations, and you can watch those stories.
New satellite images are giving a new perspective on the devastation from Helene. These are before and after images from space technology and imagery company Maxar. On the left, you see the town of Old Fort before Helene arrived. On the right, you can see how much was destroyed by the flooding. Before and after images from the town of Spruce Pine in Mitchell County also show the devastation. You can see how many roads and streets are just washed away in the flooding.
There will be additional security at South Garner High School today. Garner police arrested a student there yesterday for bringing a loaded gun on campus. Now, to be clear, investigators say there is no threat to the school. 18-year-old Rico Owens was taken into custody. That happened after school administrators received a tip that he had a weapon. Owens is facing possession of a firearm on educational property, possession of a stolen firearm, and possession of narcotics charges.
Former President Donald Trump will be back in North Carolina today. He's hosting a town hall event in Fayetteville. It'll be held at the Crown Complex on Coliseum Drive. He's expected to speak at 7 p.m.
And Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. The much anticipated September jobs report has been added. And I can tell you right now, as you look at it here, it is a lot better than expected here. These are some of the headlines right here. 254,000 jobs were added in September. The prediction from economists was 140,000, so well above what was expected there. If we take a look at some of the other headlines here, whopping it's called in some. The unemployment rate was expected to hold steady at 4.2%. It dropped to 4.1%, so another good indicator. This jobs report is in the spotlight because the Federal Reserve has all but declared victory on inflation, and it is focused now on keeping the labor market healthy. So these numbers moving in a positive direction. The next Fed rate meeting is in early November.
Some good news. Thanks, Jeff. Port workers will return to work this morning. This comes after the Union for Workers agreed to suspend their strike until January 15th to provide time to negotiate a new contract. The strike affected 14 ports, including Wilmington. John Lawrence has more about the temporary deal to get the employees back to work.
We're very excited to be back.
It will once again be smooth sailing at the U.S. ports along the east and Gulf coasts.
Dock workers are going back to work. POP, people over profit.
Less than a week after the walk-off started, the International Longshoremen's Association and the U.S. Maritime Alliance issued a joint statement Thursday saying a tentative deal has been reached. The union agreed to extend its contract with the Maritime Alliance to January 15th after it expired Monday. The agreement includes an annual $4 per hour raise for the 6-year contract.
It means that they can provide, put food on the table, pay their bills. They don't have to worry anymore, possibly losing their cars or their homes or anything like that.
An outstanding issue, according to the statement, is restrictions regarding the use of fully automated equipment in the workplace.
Robots don't pay taxes and they don't put food on your table, so it's very important to protect these jobs.
President Joe Biden released a statement applauding the tentative agreement, saying, quote, collective bargaining works, and it is critical to building a stronger economy from the middle out and the bottom up.
Next 90 days, we're going to settle everything.
The tentative deal still needs to be completed and ratified by ILA rank-and-file members before it's set in stone. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Country music star and North Carolina native Eric Church is helping in the response to Helene. More on his surprise release, donating the song and all it generates to those caught in the storm.
Plus, a driver accused of drinking and driving tried to order Chick-fil-A with his young daughter in the car. Hear how employees kept him busy, just enough for law enforcement to respond.
It's 8:45 and we're taking a live look at Apex this morning. Just like the rest of the viewing area, we're seeing a beautiful start this morning with mostly sunny skies. Now we will see some high thin cloud cover that rolls in later this afternoon, mid to late afternoon, but it feels nice out there this morning. Our dew point's dropped down to 62, and of course this is the measure of moisture in the atmosphere, so the lower that goes, the more comfortable it feels. It's likely to keep dropping by next week, and it's really going to feel crisp like fall, but we're still feeling, kind of like an in-between season right now. 64 in Fayetteville and Goldsboro, 61 in Rocky Mount, and 63 up in Roxborough. We'll see a high of 83 this afternoon in Raleigh, 82 in Durham, and 85 in Fayetteville. So it will feel warm, but at least our dew point has dropped a little bit, making it feel just a little bit less sticky. Now, there's plenty of moisture coming up out of the Gulf, and some of that will move over the mountains. As a matter of fact, there are just a few light showers happening there right now. But totals that they should see in the next 24 hours are really probably less than 1/10 of an inch. So it's not anything that's going to add to the problems there, except I know they would probably just like to have completely dry conditions to keep on cleaning up. But it does look like a nice dry period for the mountains and for us going forward for much of next week. We could see an isolated shower mainly in our southern counties later on this evening. You can see the clouds starting to thicken up here around lunchtime, and we're quiet at 5 o'clock. Notice at around 8 o'clock, a tiny shower does pop up in our southern counties, but it's 20% chance. I think for the most part, all the Friday night football games will go off without a hitch. Our temperatures as we get into the games are going to drop into the upper 70s. Should be real comfortable out there, but maybe a little bit cloudy. If you have plans to be out over the weekend, it should be fine. We'll see partly cloudy skies both days, highs in the low to mid 80s. Just a small chance of an evening shower on Saturday with a weak front coming through. A bigger front comes through on Monday night, and that's going to deliver a nice, refreshing air mass. That's going to be the first real taste of fall that we've felt in a few weeks, actually. Lots of parts of the country dealing with temperatures above normal. You can see the yellow and orange shaded areas, but from the Mississippi eastward next week, we see a nice drop in our temperatures, and we should be well below normal. Our temperatures between now and Monday will be in the low to mid 80s, but starting Tuesday, we drop it into the low to mid 70s, and we'll hold it there through next weekend. We're still watching a few things in the tropics, so coming up in a little while, we'll talk about what is still lingering out there.
New this morning, North Carolina native Eric Church surprise released a new song just hours ago to help with his home state's recovery efforts.
This song's called Darkest Hour, and I'm giving this song to North Carolina, to the people of North Carolina. I'm signing the publishing away. It'll no longer be mine. It'll belong to the people of the state of North Carolina. And hopefully the proceeds will matter now, but it'll also matter in the future.
The church says his team is also working to help on the ground with Helene recovery efforts.
People living in the Village on Lake Wheeler neighborhood in Wake County, they're not happy about the new section of NC 540. They say the noise is preventing them from sleeping. They also claim it will hurt their home values. Homeowners say they were rather told a wall would be built before they bought the houses. A noise study was conducted, and the neighborhood's building permits were issued after that study, which means the neighborhood, it's not actually eligible for government-funded noise abatement.
You can do nothing in the backyard. You have to talk so loud in the backyard to be able to hear each other. She used to be able to sleep through the night, but no longer after we having this noise. She'll wake up, and for the nap is also hugely impacted.
We're waiting to hear back from NCDOT and the property developer to hear what can be done about this. In the meantime, several neighbors are considering legal action.
Some employees at a Chick-fil-A in New Jersey are being praised for their quick-thinking actions to stop a drunk driver. Authorities say a man in a pickup truck pulled up to the drive-thru with his 6-year-old daughter. An employee smelled alcohol on his breath and immediately notified her manager. That's when officers say they thought of a plan to stall the man.
And that he had to pull over and wait for his order. So that's how they delayed him. Had him pull over. Officers, he was still waiting for his order when officers pulled up.
And officers say when they arrived, the man had open cans of beer inside his truck. The little girl was able to eat her food until her grandfather picked her up. It's not clear what charges that man will face. It is an action-packed weekend in the Triangle with a couple of festivals happening.
So let's go ahead and start with Selma Railroad Days Festival for your out and about bets. Goodness, I cannot say that 5 times fast, right? This is the 49th year of the festival presented by WRAL and the town of Selma. It celebrates Selma's rail history with a weekend filled with exciting entertainment and activities. Streets will be filled with live music, food, trucks, model train shows, a parade, vendors, and carnival rides. That starts tonight at 5 and runs through Sunday.
Also, the town of Cary hosting the 10th annual Triangle Oktoberfest this weekend. It kicks off tonight at 5 o'clock at Coca Booth Amphitheater. It's happening tomorrow as well. There will be food, wiener dog races, stein hoisting, costume contests, and more. Tickets start at $25.
Post Malone is coming to Raleigh this weekend. He will be at the Coastal Credit Union Music Park at Walnut Creek. That's tomorrow night. And the show starts at 8. Tickets, just so you know, they're still available.
And Wake County Public Schools named their principal and assistant principals of the year. Shawana Jacobs from Leesville Road High School is the principal of the year. She served in the district for almost 2 decades. She took the job at Leesville Road just last year. And Sebastian Ship from Millbrook Magnet High School is the assistant principal of the year. He's also worked in the district for 2 decades, and he began his career as a math teacher. Congratulations to both on their amazing achievements.
Yeah, congrats. The Downtown Raleigh Association is kicking off its Restaurant Week. Beginning tomorrow, 25 restaurants from the Warehouse District, Seaboard Station to Glenwood South will offer specially priced 3-course meals. That runs from October 5th until Sunday, October 13th. You can find a full list of participating locations at downtownraleigh.org.
A new Hulu reality series is getting a second season, and State Island Vampires enters its final chapter. Here's Ashley Dvorkin with the Hollywood Minute.
Sometimes a vampire will go into a super slumber.
Staten Island vampires make plans, Bailey time travels, and Mormon wives get a renewal in the Hollywood nation.
It started with Whitney, Macy, Michaela, and I.
The ladies of Mom Talk are returning for more dirty sodas and drama. Hulu has renewed The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives for season 2. The series follows a group of Utah-based mom influencers who gained notoriety following a sex scandal that tested their loyalties and friendships. The show is expected to return in spring 2025.
They say you can't change the past, but what if you could?
Madison Bailey goes back in time in today's First Looks. The Outer Banks star leads Netflix's upcoming slasher Time Cut, playing a teenage girl who travels back to 2003 to stop a killer from murdering her sister. The film is available to stream October 30th. FX shares a glimpse of the 6th and final season of its Emmy-nominated series, What We Do in the Shadows. The last chapter follows the Staten Island vampires reevaluating their lives, waking up a fellow vampire from a 50-year slumber, joining the workforce, and seeking world domination. The show returns October 21st.
Oops. That looks really funny. That was Ashley Dvorkin reporting. And before we go to break, we'll show you your winning lottery numbers. Good luck.